Hey guys and girls, welcome back to 396 Guitars. Got a Telecaster on the bench today. We're doing a pick guard swap and 3 pickups. So we have to remove the bridge, and I've already installed the new pickups in the new pick guard just to save a little time. That's easy. I'll walk you through that. As a sidebar, I've had some comments. Actually, I've had some questions. Why 396 guitars? I'm going to give you a hint. You guys can play along if you like. If you don't, it's okay. I'm going to give you a hint. Why 396 guitars? The hint is a number. 1843657 That's all I'm going to give you. So let's get to work. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. So, and by all means, share. As you can see, we have quite a bit going on here. I already have the control cover off just to expose my work area. We're going to take these 3 wires off, which are the main wires for these pickups, bridge, neck, middle, bridge. This is really one I want to spend a little time on because you actually have to remove this to swap it out, and there's more going on in there than you would think. So we're going to fire up the solder iron and see if we can't just pop these off. Now I know this one is the bridge, so the yellow must be the middle and the green must be the neck. Yeah. So, and the rest of them are going to be grounds. This does have a push-pull, but we're not getting involved in that. Luckily, all we're doing is swapping out pickups. We're not changing pots or reconfiguring things. Thank Buddha. So the simplest thing to do first is to get the main pickup wires off the switch, and we should be able to do that with just desoldering. I'm hoping that they didn't curl the wire around it, which, yeah, sometimes they do, and that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Really big fat wires on here. And yeah, it doesn't like to desolder sometimes. You have to put a little dollop of solder on the end of the iron to facilitate it melting. Yeah, and of course there's a knot. Yeah. Dumbest thing you could do is put the wire in there and wrap it around and then put a dollop of solder on it, because then when you have to change pickups like we're doing today, you run into this mess. And every tech that ever does that, I want to kick them right in the nuts, because all it does is really make a mess. So I'm going to have to really look at that lug, because now it's kind of wonky. But I think we'll be alright. It just seems loose. So now I know that there's no need to do that. If you load up the lug first, all you have to do is pass the wire through. It looks like the green one will come right off because it's just set on there. Yeah. The yellow one is going to be not so much fun. So I'm gonna try something different. Let's get the sucker out. And see if we can't suck the excess solder off to get it out of the way. Sometimes that will work. It's just stupid, absolutely stupid, to take the wire and wrap it around the lug. It doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah, I'm just going to snip it off. Just dumb. It's just dumb and unnecessary. That's the thing that irritates me more than anything. It's unnecessary. You can make a perfectly good solder joint by you load up the lug, so you fill the hole on whatever lug, whether it's on a pot or whether it's on a switch. You load the lug up with a little bit of solder. Then when all you got to do is take and tin the end of the wire that you want to attach to it, touch the solder into it, push the wire through, and that's it. It'll make a perfectly good connection, and you'll have a nice joint. Put the wire through and wrap it around and hook it. It's just dumb. That was one of the first things I caught on to when I started really doing a lot of swapping and soldering. It just doesn't make any sense at all. All it does is make a problem for the next guy. Okay, so now we're going to pop this off to get it out of the way, because we should be, well, we got to get the grounds off. And with the grounds and all these wires in the way, yeah, sometimes they don't like to come off. It looks as though they are all on one location on the back of the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then looks like the switch. Yeah, they put the output jack into the same spot too. I'm going to snip them off because all it's going to do is make a mess trying to desolder that. These right here, I hope my head is not too much in the way. I'm just going to snip those off. Those are all our grounds. Yeah, and we can easily attach them back now. All we got to do is get a clean joint surface on that pot, and bing, bang, boom, we're done. We'll make them all into a common ground, so we're only attaching one wire there. Yeah, fella. So now we can pop this pick guard off. I'm spending a lot of time waiting to get to that, but just bear with me. I'm going to get these out of the way. We're taking these two pickups out, of course, and they're attached to this pick guard, which is also being replaced. So I've already taken the time and loaded the new pick guard with the new pickups that we're using. So in theory, we should just be able to pull this out, fish the new wires from this back through there, and then we can get to work on the bridge pickup, which is a little more fun. Fun meaning, yeah, pain in the ass. But it is what it is. You gotta do it, you gotta do it. I wonder how many of you are gonna get my riddle. I know it's pretty vague. If nobody gets it, I'll add a hint on the next video or something. I don't know. Something different to do. People have asked, so I'll make a game of it. Yeah, so. So green is, yeah, I was right. Yellow is the middle. 3 wires coming off of that noiseless lipstick, but we're not using that again, so let's not waste any time with that. This is coming out next. Now, sometimes you have to remove saddles to be able to get at the mounting screws, but I'm pretty certain that these saddles on this particular bridge are going to let us get access to the mounting screw to pull the bridge out without removing any saddles, which means we won't have to monkey around with the intonation, because once you pull the saddles out, you boogered your intonation. Yeah, I think we're going to be okay. They actually are moving right out of the way, as long as I can get the screw head past. Anyway, it's just another step if you have to. Sometimes you have to take a saddle out just to get at the mounting screw for the bridge plate. And we're going to have a ground wire under here somewhere that we have to be mindful of when we put it back. Body ground, bridge ground, call it what you want. And it goes right there. There may not be one on this because this one actually has a lug bolted right into the body there. I'll be surprised if there isn't one in here, but I'll bet. No. The last one of these I did, it actually added a ground wire to here to ground it and then sent that through. I don't know. And sort of that's what it did. So instead of having a ground wire that comes through the body as if it were a P bass or a jazz bass or a regular telly, there would be a wire tucked up under here. This one is just like the last one I did. They take the ground wire from the pickup right here, this black one. It goes over here to an eyelet. It's soldered into that, and then it jumps that ground wire, goes out to common ground on the back of the volume pot. Nah, that's kind of a modern way to do it. The old ones weren't like that. They had a ground wire right there. But that's what we're going to do now, is get the new pickup, which is a Hot Rails, Seymour Duncan Hot Rails is what's going in there. Yeah, and we're going to have to do the same thing, but this one is a little bit different. So that's going to make for some fun. So yeah, being a Seymour Duncan, it's got 5 leads, north and south, common ground, green and bare is ground, red and white are for splitting, but we are not splitting in this case. So those are going to get soldered together and cut and capped. So the green wire, as it were, right here is what we're going to have to common ground to the bridge. Or or I could just run a common ground from there through and have a second ground. Let's unscrew this, get it set in there, and we'll figure out which way I want to do that. You follow? It could be complicated. It seems complicated. If there were only 2 wires off of this, I would do it exactly like it is here. But because we have this extra lead, which I may end up shortening once we get it in there, because it just doesn't need to be that long, I may end up just running a ground from there through and attaching it to the plate. We'll see. We will see. Because to split this whole harness apart and pull the ground out of here and do what they're trying to do on this doesn't make any sense. We might have to actually pass a wire back through. Just a ground wire to ground to the plate. Yeah, as if it were old-fashioned style. It's a different way of doing the same exact thing, basically. So, all right, let's get this girl mounted in here. So you unscrew. These are all noiseless pickups. The customer is not a fan, doesn't care for them. They're not super hot. In fact, that reminds me, I am supposed to, before I get too far away from center, he wanted me to compare the pickups that are going in to the pickups that are coming out. .43. Bridge. Where's my pen? bridge, 14.43. The one that's going in is a hot rails is 15.36, so it's definitely a little hotter. The middle, as well do them all while I'm right here. I know this might be boring to some of you. All we're doing is checking the resistance. The middle, of course there isn't anything left on the wires. All this just to check the resistance. Burning up video time. So all we're doing is comparing. So this is the middle. 11.15. The one that's going in is about half of that. That's going to be interesting. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad pickup that he's swapping in. It just means it's going to have a different sound. The neck is this guy right here. Make a contact there. Green is ground and 12.28. It's about the same. That's about the same as the one that's coming out. Okay. I have a feeling that middle pickup that we're putting in is going to make this sound different. That's going to be the one that actually gives us a little bit different sound. Now, these being noiseless, they just don't have the pop. I'm afraid to say, I'm sorry to say, they don't have the pop that, a regular. And we're putting in Seymour Duncan quarter pounder, and this one's nondescript. It's kind of a mini bucker type of thing, but we'll see. It's going in there one way or another. It's interesting to know what's going in and what's coming out. So I'm going to pause quickly while I take this apart. It could take me a few minutes. And we'll come right back as I get ready to put it all together. Stand by. Okay, so we're back, and you can see there's a little bit of work that's happened. We mounted this. I ran, as I was saying before, instead of jumping the ground wire from the Seymour Duncan down in the bridge to the ground there, I ran a separate ground. That's what this wire is right here. Just a separate ground that's going to go to a common ground on a pot. In this particular case, I'm going to put it on the tone pot. I also have labeled, okay, this is my neck lead. These are going to switch. This is my middle. And right down here, this little guy right there, that's the bridge that goes to the switch, the 5-way switch. Now, this is what I do. And some of you can argue this ad nauseum. I don't care. Instead of common grounding 4 wires to the back of a pot and trying to get them all set there with a glob of solder and they never want to stick in, your ground will be suspect. I common ground them all together in a bundle right here and solder them together. Then I take one major lead off of that, and that's the ground that goes to the back of the pot. I have a little extra on there that I probably won't need, but you never know exactly how much to measure. So what we're going to do, I hope you follow that, is we're going to now solder to the 5-way switch and our 2 common grounds, or 2 grounds. This is the bridge ground right there. This is the common ground for all of the pickups. Now, again, to reiterate, see, all of those grounds have to go to the back of a pot. So whether they all clump together on the back of the pot in one spot or clump together here at this point where it's easier to work them, and then take one lead off of that to the common ground on the back of the pot. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Sorry, I digress. Now, this is going to go pretty quick, I hope. I'm going to do my bridge first. Let's just kind of set our control plate here where we can work at it. The tiniest little bridge wire, the tiniest little wire from that pickup, pain in the butt. And this is what I'm talking about, loading up your lug. So all you have to do is touch the wire to it. And that one's got enough on it already. So bridge, if I'm not mistaken, goes over here. And all we have to do really, and this is going to be the hardest one, and my head is probably in the way, it's the tiniest wire. I just want to get it through the hole, grab the joint, turn into a good joint, and each one just give it a gentle tug, make sure that it's going to be good and it's going to live there. And then our middle, which is this guy right here. This is my neck, so middle should go right there. And usually all you have to do is touch it, get it open and loose. Push the wire through the lug, let it seize, and yeah, you got a joint. The last one's going to be a little bit different. I'm actually going to put a glob. Sorry, my head is in the way. This is small, tedious work. There's 2 wires on the lug that accepts the neck lead. So we're just going to put a little extra solder on the end of the neck lead, and it's just going to touch it. It's just going to touch to it. So we'll get a little extra on there, and that's it. That's all it takes. And then same thing, melt it, touch it, and that's your joint. And gently tug all of your joints, make sure that you're good. Now, our grounds. I'm going to put the added modified bridge ground to the back of the tone pot, which is right there. Pretty simple. Same thing, you just want to dollop. This is called tinning your solder tip. Just get a little on there. And there's already a ground there, so all we have to do really is get it to touch and melt and make a good joint. And again, gentle tug. If it doesn't come loose, you're good. You made a joint there. Now, this guy might be the one I got to route a little bit. I'm going to pause because I want to route that common ground wire around where it's going to be able to tuck down in there when we fold all this back over. Stand by. So if everything goes according to plan, all I did was route the common ground wire around to where all of the common grounds used to be, right there. If everything goes according to plan, we can tap test before we tuck everything in there. And you know, I always do that. Always do that. Volume, tone, push, pull. So we are in the neck position. Tone. Okay. Neck and middle. Tone. Yep. Middle only. Yep. Tone. Yep. Ooh, that's hot. Now this is middle and bridge. Tone. Yep. Just bridge. Yep. Do we have tone? Oh yeah. Pull. Go back to neck. Just neck. Oops. Tone. Oh yeah, different tone too, yeah. Neck, middle, tone. Yep. Just middle. Yeah, so far so good. Middle, bridge, tone. Yep. And just bridge. This one's hot, and so is this one. This one is different. It's not that it's not as hot. Yeah, I like it. So far, I like it. So we're going to stop there because, yeah, well, we're a little long in the tooth. But that was it. We changed all three pickups. We changed the pick guard. This was the fun one. This is what I'm going to name this video, changing the bridge pickup on the Telly. It's always fun. And I modified it by putting its own dedicated ground because the way Fender had it, and we went to a Seymour Duncan, which has a 5-wire instead of only a 2-wire. You got to work around that stuff sometimes. Now, tucking it down in there, yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm going to probably try to zip tie some of this together to get it to tuck down in there, but I'm not going to bore you with the gory details. Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your questions and your comments. Remember, 1-844-365-72. 1-844-365-72. That is the hint to why I call my little enterprise 396 Guitars. We'll talk soon.